Hello. In this Labtube, I will show how one can use inverse of a matrix to solve a linear system. Well, let's see what is the question asking. Use the method of inverse matrix to solve the linear system, this linear system, two variables, two equations. Well, you have to know what is method of inverse matrix. So that method, to be able to apply that method, you have to do the following steps. Step one is form the matrix form of the system. So matrix form. Or what you need is find the coefficient matrix and the right-hand side matrix. To be able to apply this method, your coefficient matrix should be square matrix, meaning that the number of equations should be equal to number of variables. And also, your coefficient matrix should be invertible. If the matrix is not invertible, you cannot use this method. Well, if everything works well, then in that case, you find inverse of A. Well, you may know different methods, but one of the methods that we have in this course is that you start with this augmented matrix, AI, then transform it to row-reduced echelon form. Since your matrix, you assume that your matrix is invertible, you will end up with I, identity matrix, and a matrix there in the right-hand side. That right-hand side of that augmented matrix, the row-reduced echelon form augmented matrix, would be your inverse. Well, you find the inverse. Then step 3, the last step, is that the solution, the only solution, is you multiply the matrix A inverse to the vector B. And that gives you the solution. Well, let's apply this here. First, what is A? The coefficient matrix. The coefficient matrix is just pick the coefficient of the first equation, put it in the first row, 1, 2, coefficients of the second equation in the second row, so 3, 4. What is B? B is the right-hand side, 4, 6. Well, let me write X then, because I already, X is the matrix of variables, so X, Y. This is step 1. I found A. Now I have to find inverse of A. Inverse of A. To be able to find that, so I have to start with this augmented matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 0, 0, 1. Then try to make it transform it to row-reduced echelon form. OK. I have 1 here. I choose that to be my first leading one, and then I use that to make this entry. Everything else in that column should be 0. So this entry is 0. To be able to make it 0, I have to multiply this by -3. So row 1 by -3, and then add it to row 2. This way, I will have 0 here. I will -3 times 2 is -6. Added to 4, you get -2. 1 times -3 added to 0 is -3. And then this is 1. This is very good. Now I have the next leading one. I can choose this to be my next leading one. To make it leading one, I have to make it 1 first. So that I can do by divide row 2 by inverse, or multiply row 2 by inverse of that entry, row 2. So I get 1, 2, 1, 0, and I have 0, 1. -3 over 2 is 3 over 2, and 1, -1 over 2. Well, that's very good. Now I have my leading one in the right place. I have to use that to make the other entries in that column 0. So I have to make this guy 0. To make that 0, I can multiply this by -2 and add it to row 1. So that would be row 1, -2 times row 2. So my row 2 is the same thing, 3/2, -1/2. And then I multiplied this by -2, add it to row 1, add it to row 1. Multiply this by -2, you get -3. Add it to 1, you get 4. Multiply this by -2, you get 1. Oh, I made a mistake here. Here, if I multiply this by -2, I get -3 added to 1, you get -2. And multiply this by -2, you get 1 added to 0, you get 1. Well, this is your reduced echelon form, and this is identity. That means the original matrix that I started with is an invertible, and this is my inverse. So that means I found the inverse. Inverse is this 2 by 2 matrix, -2, 1, 3/2, and -1/2. This is my inverse matrix. Now I can apply step 3. The solution X is A inverse times B. I have A inverse, -2, 1, 3/2, -1/2. And B is a 2 by 1 matrix, which is 4, 6. Well, this is 2 by 2 matrix. This is 2 by 1 matrix. The result is going to be a 2 by 1 matrix. You have to know how to multiply two matrices. And this is -2 times 4 plus 1 times 6. So this multiplied that. That's my first entry. And this multiplied that. So 3/2 times 4 plus -1/2 times 6. And then you simplify. This is -8 plus 6 is -2. And this is 6 minus 3 is 3. Well, very quick wrap up. In the method of inverse matrix, what you need to do, you form the coefficient matrix, find its inverse, and multiply it to the right-hand side matrix, A inverse B. That will give you the answer of the system.